G'day and welcome to Still Not Drunk, the podcast about drinking by a comedian who doesn't drink. That's me. My name's Aidan Jones. Thank you so much for listening or watching or whatever you're doing wherever you're at. This is the first episode. I'm excited, man. I'm scared. I'm scared to start this. I've been thinking about it for ages, but I'm really excited. This podcast is going to be the reason I'm doing it is because I don't drink. I quit drinking coming on 4 years ago, June the 21st, 2019. And it's the best thing I ever did, quitting drinking. And I think when I grew up and before I quit, I never really knew that you could just not drink, and there was never like maybe in our culture or society. I don't want to blame other people, but like there was never any conversation around drinking when I grew up. It was just something that you did. You just drank because you do. And no one ever really spoke about why we drink or why we don't or why you might not drink or why we drink so much. Or there was no conversation around it. It was just like my dad drank and a lot of the people around me drank, and so I drank because why not? And it feels like in the last few years in Australia, definitely, we've started to talk a bit more about drinking, which is really cool. But I also think a lot of these conversations are so fucking just so serious, like it's really cool that we're talking about drinking and that there's more and more, I guess, the option or the possibility to not drink and to make a choice about it. But so many of the conversations are just like bordering on preachy. It's like, I quit drinking and I just feel so much better and it's incredible. And it's like, ugh, do I want to be that person? I don't want to drink if it turns me into that person. And like, drinking is still, I don't have a problem with people who drink. I think it's great. I kind of like being around drinking. There's parts of the culture around drinking that I really enjoy, and I guess a big part of this podcast is every week I'm going to sit down with a guest and we're going to drink an alcohol-free drink. And for me, since I quit, I've loved drinking alcohol-free drinks because I'm a comedian. I'm in pubs or bars or venues every night where there's drinking around, and it's been such a helpful thing to me to be able to have an alcohol-free beer or some kind of drink that's not water or Coke to just have and drink so I can still feel like I'm a part of the culture, because there are parts of drinking culture that I don't want to give away just because I've made a decision to not drink anymore. So I'm sitting down with other comedians and people who I love, whose work I like, or it's mostly been comedians at the start. I got a friend who's an author, whatever. The guests will come later, but the point is I'm having conversations with people who, some of them don't drink, some of them do drink, some of them are heavy, big drinkers, they love it, some of them not so much, a whole different range of people with different relationships to drinking. And I want to sit down with them and just have a conversation that's around drinking, where we bring it up, but we talk about other stuff, life and growing up and where we come from and who we are, and just touch on drinking and kind of find a place for our relationship with alcohol in the context of the rest of our lives. Fuck, man, I'm pretty happy with that explanation, eh? I want people to know more than anything. I just want people to know what I didn't for a long time, which is that you have a choice around drinking, whether you do or you don't, or however much you want to drink, wherever you sit on that scale, you have a choice to stay there or to change it to whatever you want. And whatever you choose, that's your choice. You don't have to just do it because that's the way you always did it, or because everyone around you is or isn't, or whatever the fuck. You can choose to drink or to not drink. And if you're making that choice, then you're all good, as long as you're being mindful about the decision you're making. The reason the podcast is called Still Not Drunk is I kind of like the name. Like, it feels like something that's serious. Like, I've been sober for coming on 4 years and I'm really proud of that. And it's been 4 years of life. Life comes at you and it's up and it's down and it's hard and sometimes it's great or whatever. And that whole time, I'm still not drunk. I'm really proud to be able to say that. But then also, the phrase still not drunk is something that I would have yelled at like a high school party after I drank 6 Bacardi Breezes before I threw up, like, I'm still not drunk, ugh, into the bushes. So I think the phrase contains within it the broad spectrum of all relationships that you can have to drinking. You can say I'm still not drunk and be completely sober and clear. You can say I'm still not drunk and be an absolute drunken dickhead, and all the way through. So I hope that communicates everything that I want to do with this podcast. Now, the first episode, which is where we're at, I've got a fantastic guest. I'm super excited for you guys to hear this conversation. My guest is Sashi Perera. She's a good friend and a comedian from Melbourne. She grew up in Perth. She's her family's Sri Lankan, and she was also a human rights lawyer for a long time. She's been around the comedy scene in Melbourne for like 4 or 5 years, something like that. But in the last year or so, she really blew up on Instagram and TikTok. A bunch of her videos got huge traction. And this year at the Melbourne Comedy Festival 2023, she sold out her run and moved to a bigger venue in Trades Hall, 180 seats for like a week. Sold that out as well. She got nominated for the Best Newcomer Award, which is a huge deal at the Melbourne Comedy Festival. And we sat down to chat a few weeks ago when she was in the middle of that very exciting run. And she's also been sober for 2 years, which we talked about. We talked about her reasons why. It had to do with pregnancy and her partner. And there's been a lot of stuff in her life around that. So we had a great chat, man. We talked about being a shy kid growing up in Perth, Sri Lankan kid, her parents. We talked about getting swooped by birds, a whole bunch of different shit. So I really hope you guys enjoy it. If you're liking the podcast, chuck us 5 stars on Instagram. On Instagram? No, you loser. On Spotify and iTunes. Also, check out Sashi's website. She's Sash Bomb on Instagram, and on her website, she's got some information and clips. She's touring in the UK. She's got a couple shows in London in June 2023. They might be sold out already, but go on her website, follow her on Instagram at Sash Bomb, and find all of that stuff. You can find me at Aidan Jones Comedy, and that's it. I hope you guys enjoy the very first episode. I'm Aidan Jones, and I'm still not drunk.
So I promised myself 12 months ago that I wouldn't drink again.
Hello. Thanks so much for having me on. Very exciting.
Thanks for coming through, mate. I really appreciate you killing your sleep in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Killed it.
I've fed you some bread. I hope you're okay.
I am awake, and a really delicious coffee. So thank you.
Yes, mate. We're drinking all of the. We got coffee. We got beer. I don't want to get straight into the beer. How you doing? How you feeling?
Good. I'm good. I've got 3 shows left for the comedy festival, and they've just been really fun. So yeah, just trying to rest up between shows.
You were just saying your energy's been like flagging a bit.
Yeah. It's just, I think I was like, why am I so tired? And well, it's because you're doing an hour's show a night. Like, it's a lot of energy you're getting from people, and yeah.
And this is your first time doing a solo show at the Melbourne Comedy Festival.
Yes, exactly. And I remember it used to be a mystery how people used to talk for 50 minutes, and now I'm doing it every night.
Right.
So,
and now you were saying it's a mystery how they keep doing it and don't immolate.
Yeah. I think it's just a madness we all just keep becoming a part of.
Do you think that you'll take this show further?
I would love to. I'm doing it at a couple of shows in London.
Oh, what? Yeah. Oh, you're doing Soho Theatre?
Yeah.
Oh, my God,
no,
man.
No, not Soho Theatre. No, I wish. I'm doing Angel Comedy and Two
Oh,
Months
sick.
Down. Yeah. So I'm just really excited. I was going over for a wedding, and then I was like, I'll just add some shows. And then one sold out. So
amazing. What the fuck,
yeah.
man? You're crushing it.
I know. It's real weird. It's real weird.
That is absurd.
The internet, turns out. Heaps of people are on it. I didn't know.
They love it.
Yeah.
They see stuff. Fucking hell. How did that happen, the Angel thing?
I just contacted them. I actually contacted
okay.
Two North Down and Angel didn't get back to me.
Yeah.
And I thought they weren't interested, but it turned out that someone was on leave, and then Two North Down couldn't fit in a second show at 7 or whatever it was. So, yeah, now I'm doing one each.
You know what would be the funniest?
What?
And I know you're going to be like, Aidan, stop. If you win Best Newcomer and then you get a run at Soho Theatre and then you have to cancel those dates. Or maybe they all sell out. Fuck it. Maybe you get a run at Soho.
Know. Do you know what? I've tried so hard not to think about the like award noms and stuff, just because I remember with Raw last year, I didn't get through to nationals, and I was so bummed.
Yeah, dude.
So bummed. And I got way too focused focused on it and got really down. And now it's just like it doesn't matter.
You sound like
flying.
you're in
It's
the best
okay.
headspace, dude, because we were just saying before while I was fucking cutting up my bread, you were saying
bread.
You were saying that the festival offered you to extend your run for the rest of the festival, and you said no. And I was like, Sashi, you're leaving so much money on the table, and you were like, I want to be happy.
Yeah.
And that
I do.
is the mindset that everyone is like, I'm just like moving towards my happiness. But we all fucking talk a big game, but no one's doing it. You had the choice. And you made the choice that everyone says they want to make, but no one does. So good for you.
It's really hard, and you feel dumb because everyone's just like, why wouldn't you keep going? You've got this great show and people are coming, and it's just like, well, I'm really enjoying it and I can give it 110% every night. I don't know if I can do that for a month yet. It's my first show. Like I'm still learning, and I've already moved from a small room to a giant room, which has already whacked me out a bit. So I was like, I don't want to ruin this for myself by going too hard on the first run.
You've got huge wisdom, mate.
Thanks.
I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
And you just told me that you don't drink at the moment. What's the deal there?
Yeah. So what happened was when my partner and I started trying to get pregnant like 2 years ago, it was such a thing for us that he wouldn't drink as well, because I was like, I have to give up drinking for 9 months. And I think since I turned 18, but also let's be real, probably 16, 17, I hadn't had a week that I'd gone without alcohol.
Right.
It was such a huge part of my life. And it just like, I thought it made me more interesting. It made everyone else more interesting. I'd always be out till like 4 or 5 a.m. That was my thing that I loved doing.
Yeah.
And it felt like such a huge thing to give up.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I'm making that change, you're making that change.
Totally.
And we really butted heads over it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't want to do it.
Well, not many guys do. You know, it's
Interesting.
not expected because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, why? That's such a bitchy thing to do. Why?
I have to do it, so you have to do it like that?
Exactly
Right.
like that, you know. But so we really butted heads over it. And I was
Wow.
like, why? Like, just because I'm the woman and rah, rah, rah. But then, you know, we had a couple of miscarriages and then it got really hard. And then we just stopped. Like, I think our life just changed. And for fertility and stuff, like, they recommend that you really cut your alcohol intake. And then it's just something we started to do together. And now, like, waking up without a hangover on a weekend, I don't know if I can give that up.
It's a game changer.
Holy moly.
Yeah, dog.
Yeah. Don't know. So I don't know if I've gotten older or it's COVID or it's fertility stuff or whatever combination of all the above. Now I just have like a drink or two max.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in bed.
It's totally.
A nice place to be.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Well, look, let's crack these beers open then get into it, because we're going straight in straight away. The beer that we're drinking today is Mind Your Head Non-Alc XPA by Hop Nation. I do want to do a little shout out before we get going to A&A Drinks, who are the sponsor for the podcast. They're like an alcohol-free store online, anadrinks.com.au. You can get all your alcohol-free stuff in there, so hit them up. They deliver Australia-wide. Those guys rock.
Woo!
Give it a taste, mate.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers. That's delish.
That's but you know what?
That's really, really good.
I have a wave of relief because
What if it was bad?
I've had this before, and I remember not really loving it.
Ah, interesting.
Which is why I was like a little silent on it when I pulled it. I was like, or maybe I didn't even let you know, but I saw it and I was like, maybe, I don't know, but that's nice. It is good. I like this.
Can we talk about the picture?
Yeah, I was about to say the picture is
rocks.
sick. It's a couple of magpies with a bike helmet with cable ties tied on. I don't even know if people outside Australia will understand that.
Yeah, I think that's a very Australian reference. Like, it's to stop the bird swooping you.
Do you know what, dude? I play football, like soccer, every week with a bunch of other comics on Saturdays in Carlton, at Carlton Primary. They've got a sick AstroTurf little pitch there.
Oh.
Outdoors, we play there's like 15, 20 of us. We go. It's the best. A few weeks ago, because it's like, is it the season right now?
Don't know.
I've
never been swooped, so I don't know if
You've
it's
never
like
been swooped?
I don't know if it's a white people thing. Do they
You're
just swoop?
selling out your
White
shows.
people.
You've never been swooped.
Maybe that could be the title of my next
Never
show.
been swooped
Never
is
been
actually
swooped.
sick. You know, Bart Freeman has a great joke about being swooped by birds, and he says a beak is just hard lips.
Yeah.
They're not they're not swooping you. They're just trying to give you kisses. What is a beak? It's just hard lips.
That's amazing.
But I was out there playing soccer with the guys, and there was some. I don't think they're not magpies. They're like, are they miners? The ones with the little yellow beaks, whatever the fuck. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
Do
about
they swoop
birds.
too? Do all birds
They-
swoop you?
I don't know if all birds swoop, but let me tell you, these birds fucking swoop, mate.
Hashtag not all birds.
Because there's like where we play, and then there's the drinks fountain, and in between that's like trees. It's a beautiful spot. But when there's birds nesting there, you go to the drinks fountain and you can see the bird like sizing up, getting branch to branch closer to you. And then you go to drink and it's like, wow, like it comes. And there was one, the branch was hanging over the corner of the pitch. And I guess I was the first person that saw, and they remember you, like apparently they remember faces. So for the whole afternoon, we're out there for 3 hours. This bird is flying like across the whole pitch to swoop specifically me, and then going to a tree on the other side of the pitch, and then I could see it flying back to rest at its nest again. It was like doing dive bomber runs, man. It was swooping me like 10 meters away in the middle of the game, going back, and I'm like, you motherfucker. 5 minutes later, rested, coming again.
Why do you think it picked you? Like, was everyone else getting swooped as well?
I
Like,
don't know,
there's like
mate.
15 of you on the pitch.
Maybe it's not a white people thing. Maybe
Why
it's I'm a
you?
mixed race man, you know? Maybe that's what it is. It was infuriating because like a part of you wants to go, man, I'm just going to smash this thing's nest up and tell it to fuck off. But like,
you
one, you
can't.
can't be
It's his
doing that.
home.
But two, also, if you do that, the bird's following you home.
Yeah.
You know?
And getting all its friends. Like, it knows your face. It'll come destroy your home. Also, just start playing soccer with one of these helmets with these cable ties.
It's actually not a bad idea. That's not that impractical.
You might have to start doing that.
I love when I see like an old man walking through the park with the cable ties, you know? Because it's not something that a young person would think to do. It takes more forethought and planning.
It takes time.
Than anyone in their 20s is really going to have, you know?
Do you have, I hope you have some global listeners on this podcast that start telling you what they do to not get swooped when they're bike riding.
That would be sick.
Yeah.
See, this is why that's such a smart content thing, you know? That's so like engage the listeners. That's incredible, man. Yeah, global listeners, all right?
Do you have cable ties on your helmet?
What do you guys do? Do you not call them cable ties? Do you call them
so
like
true. Do you know what cable
Fluffenschaffens
ties
or
are?
something?
Fluffenschaffens.
I'm imagining we'll have a lot of listeners in Germany. I don't know why. Yeah, that's true because cable ties feels like quite an Australian thing. Like,
yeah, I mean, we
do
have a
they-
band called Cable Ties, don't
Do
we?
we?
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
sick.
Yeah.
I got to listen to them. So you were talking about
yeah, back to the podcast. What were we talking about? Non-alcoholic drinks, magpies.
No, I wanted to ask you when you started drinking because you grew up in Perth, hey?
I grew up in Perth and I was a super nerd. So I think it would have been just around the end of high school and the beginning of uni. And in Perth, we start uni, like I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was like a full release into the world.
Yeah.
And I think I was such a nerd and I was so scared of everyone. And then alcohol just made me not scared of everyone.
Do you have siblings?
I have one brother. Yeah.
Older?
Younger.
Younger. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're the oldest one, the
Yeah.
vanguard.
Yes.
Were your parents like, you're Sri Lankan, right?
Yeah.
Parents traditional at that
Super
point?
strict.
Yup.
And yeah, I was the first daughter that was super worried I'd either, die or get pregnant or, marry a white dude. Worse
Marry a
thing.
white
Yeah.
dude, horrific.
Which I did anyway.
Yeah.
So, haha. Yeah.
And too bad for them, you haven't gotten pregnant.
No, yeah. Maybe I could just blame
Suck
them
shit.
for it. Yeah, exactly. It's really weird. Like, there's like that window that is the perfect time to get pregnant. Like, it's all like, don't get pregnant, don't get pregnant, don't get pregnant, don't
And
get
then
pregnant.
you better
suddenly it's
fucking
like,
get pregnant
quick,
right now.
Quick,
Yeah.
your eggs are dying, quick. Yeah,
That's
it's
true,
very
hey?
odd.
If
Yeah.
it happens before a certain age, it's a catastrophe.
You're an idiot. You are a moron.
And then as
God
soon as,
has cursed you.
as soon as it's not a catastrophe, it's like, why do you not have 10 kids right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you hit 30 and it's like, well, it's too late.
Totally, man.
You dummy.
So, all right. So you were a shy kid.
I was so shy.
And
I was super nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're just like, drinking was like a part of it. No, man, have a
I was
bite.
like, it's going to be all crunchy.
Yeah, no, do it. Crunch into the bread, dude.
Right,
I'm so glad you like it.
So good. You're like a bread wizard.
I've
Focaccia wizard.
made some focaccia, guys. I'm like my mate Todd. Big shout outs to Todd in Perth who taught me how to make focaccia. Oh, what it was I stayed at his place and we went on my birthday this year to Rottnest to like me and him and another one of our old mates, this dude I grew up with in Adelaide. And he made bread and he made us sandwiches and just like watching him do it in the morning and then like the sandwich, putting all the fresh stuff in and with fresh bread, I was just like, it's this easy to make like a beautiful thing, you know? And it's just flour and salt and yeast and water. That's literally, and like just oil, and you just leave it in the fridge for a couple of days, just keep putting oil on. Like it's the easiest fucking thing ever. Why don't we all make bread all the time? Why does Baker's Delight even exist?
Because people like me don't know how bread's made.
I'll teach you how to make bread, dude.
Yeah.
It's the easiest fucking thing. Once you see how you make it, you'll be like, this is criminal that I've not been doing this for my entire life.
What did you say earlier? It's a recipe you can do even after
If
you've
you
taken
haven't-
a blow to the head.
Oh, an acquired brain injury, I think is what I said. But yeah, okay, so you're a shy kid and drinking helped you get out of your shell.
Really helped me get out of my shell. And then I realized like I really like being out, and I still love that. I think that's why I love stand up, because I love being in different bars and around people and still being able to do that without drinking. That was a discovery that I made.
Right.
I didn't realize I could do that because everyone around you is drinking. So you're like, I need to be drinking too. And then suddenly, I don't know, something's really shifted these last couple of years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sick. So when you started drinking, was that like uni parties or like house parties?
Oh yeah, all
Yeah.
the goon,
Goon.
goon
Big goon
was
girl.
huge.
Yeah?
Big goon girl. Those Smirnoff Blacks.
Yes, man, the double
Yeah.
blacks.
Double
Did you
blacks.
ever do the strawpedo?
Yes,
That
lots
was one
of
of my
strawpedos.
favourites.
Did you do tequila rapido? Like rapido. Like it's like it's like they're so good. You like so it's like a shot of tequila and then you put some soda water in and then you put your hand over the top and you slam it down and then it bubbles up to the top, so you have to drink it really fast.
Ooh.
Yeah, and the whole time everyone's like rapido. Yeah.
Man, that's sick. That must be some Perth shit.
Yeah, I think so.
I've never heard of
Yeah.
any of that, man. That's cool. What else did we used to do? Boat races?
Boat races.
Do boat races.
I always thought beer pong was so boring just because,
Really?
like, well, if people were bad at it, those games would go forever.
Yeah, it takes a long time
Yeah.
if you suck. I was on the taking a long time.
Yeah, I
side
sucked
of
at it.
things.
Maybe it was just I was really bad.
You know what they do in Adelaide that I just remembered? What's it called? It's called like Rainbow. Oh, the Rainbow Challenge. That's right. And it's
Ugh.
got nothing to do with drinking, but it's O Week. So that's like the drinking culture.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, when you like translate a culture over, so it's like not about drinking alcohol, it's about drinking milk. And in Adelaide, for some reason, milk is like a big thing because there's Farmers Union iced coffee, which is like one of us, like South
yeah.
Australia's proudest exports.
Right, okay.
It's people from South Australia will tell you that it's one of the only markets in the world where a drink outsells Coke, and it's Farmers Union iced
Wow.
coffee. I don't know if that's still true, but it definitely was when I was a kid.
Look, sounds true.
Yeah, yeah, love
Sounds
a fact.
true. Move on.
Don't care about the truth.
Quick.
Love a good
Yeah.
fact. So at Adelaide Uni O Week, in the quad on the stage, the Rainbow Challenge is you have 600 mils each of chocolate milk, banana milk, strawberry milk, and then like a liter of iced coffee.
Oh, God.
And you just got to drink it all as fast as you can. There's buckets to throw up in. And you're on stage with an MC and everyone's watching you. And it's called the Rainbow Challenge because that's what happens when you vomit.
Oh, man.
Is rainbow.
Gross.
Isn't that the
So much about uni is about throwing up liquids. Like there was a uni camp that we went on, and do you remember the beep test?
Oh,
where
yeah.
they test your level of fitness.
Yeah, totally.
And it's like it's the beep test, but you have to take you have to take a sip of beer at the end of each beep.
Oh man.
Which are, like the beep test
The
is
beeps are
already
really
hard.
short.
Oh man! And then so you have to take a sip of beer, and then any liquids you expel, you have to keep in a bag with you. So by the end of it, everyone's running with these like
With a
vom
bag
bags.
of-
It's. I think back now and I'm like, why? Why did we do that? We could have anyway.
Man, what kind of mad scientist kid invents that though? Like someone
Seriously.
pitched that to
Someone
the
did.
committee and they were like,
Yeah.
that's sick.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, you know what I think of? My mate went to jail and he told me this about jail, right? In jail, the jail that he was in, Yatla High Security Labour Prison. I only know that full thing because I
Yeah. What's a labour prison? Like they make
you have to work, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I only know that full thing because I looked it up to put in my bit because I have a bit where that's the punchline, whatever. So in prison, this old building that was built like, in the 1800s. I don't know exactly how this works, but like all the plumbing is like ceramic. It's like old ass plumbing. And so the toilets in each cell, they're like linked to the other cells through this ceramic plumbing, and it echoes. So if you can get all the water out of your toilet, you can talk to people. You can echoes through the ceramic. So they
Kind
would
of
call it the
awesome.
poo phone. So they're like,
good.
it's cell 24, get on the poo phone, cunt. And then like they would call the thing down the aisles, and then the other person would do it, and they would talk. And then this is the one. They would pull off their shower curtains with the hooks on them and put it down the toilet, and someone else would as well flush the toilet, and the hooks would link up, and then you've got a little chain between cells, and you can pass contraband through cells.
That's ingenious.
So they would do drug deals in jail.
Whoa.
And it's just like, man, who thought of that? Like the uni thing with these games. It's like some one person 50 years ago had that idea. And now it's just passed down like jail logic, you know?
Genius. Those poor jail plumbers just like fishing out shower curtains and stuff.
Yeah, totally. It's probably going to fuck with your toilet.
Totally. It's just like, oh man, again? Can we stop
with the shower
this?
curtains, boys? But someone keeps bringing them curtains back, going like, they need this. Come on.
They do need the curtains.
Yeah.
That's ingenious.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
There's smart people out there.
There
And then
really
we are standing on their shoulders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're at uni, you're drinking, and then when did you move to Melbourne?
I moved to Melbourne about 5 years ago, so 2017. Oh no, 6. Whoa, yeah, it's 2023.
So you had like your whole 20s pretty much in Perth
All 20s in Perth and overseas. So I was working around the world for a bit.
as a lawyer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which was fun, but also drinking heaps because like expat culture is very much just drinking a lot, which I
totally.
enjoyed.
Uh-huh.
And then came back here, and then there was just so many gigs and festivals, and it was just an awesome city to just get lost in.
Totally.
And and then I met Charlie, and he also was not a massive drinker. Like I wouldn't say that we both get really messy, but God, we love a pint.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big cricket guy. I remember coming around your house and he's on the couch watching cricket.
Yes.
How's a dude watching cricket not going to enjoy a beer?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Cricket, footy,
Yeah.
gigs, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you remember at any point, did you ever mess around with not drinking through that whole period, or was it just not something that occurred to you?
Genuinely, never.
Yeah.
Never. I never did like dry July or Feb or whatever, sober February, whatever all of that stuff was. And whenever people would declare that they weren't drinking, I'd assume they were pregnant or just gotten boring. I'd just be like,
That's so funny. I'm not drinking. Congratulations.
or so sorry for your loss of interestingness.
Totally.
Yeah. What a dick. Like I look back on that now and I'm like, why can't you just not drink? That's fine.
Man, I'm the same though. I remember like when I quit, it was like just an idea that came to me one morning. If you'd asked me the night before, will I ever quit drinking forever? I would have been like, no way.
Yeah.
But then at some point I just was like, oh, you can.
Yeah.
Like the idea occurred to me. Like it was like some fucking the apple falling on Newton's head, you know? Like it's if this most insane thing you've ever heard of to not drink.
Yeah.
Because that's how, outlandish it seems until you actually consider it.
Yeah. I also think if you're a certain type of person, like if you really enjoy company and you really enjoy chatting to people and all of that stuff, like the natural place to go with that is the pub.
Totally.
Where else are you going to do that unless you have people over or, it never occurred to me that I could just not drink.
Man, this is the thing as well, because like, I guess, I'm just starting this podcast and trying to figure out what it is and my angle on the idea of not drinking in that discourse. And I know a lot of people, especially like I've got a few friends in AA, and I've never been to AA. That's not the direction that I went in. But I know for them, a lot of people in that world don't like to be around even alcohol-free beers or like situations where you drink, because it's like triggering. And that's their, where they're at with it.
Yeah.
That must be so hard because like I guess I'm very lucky that I can still, I need a, comedy, right? This is the thing that I love more than anything else that I want to do all the time.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out a way to be able to accommodate that, but also not drink because that's become a problem.
I also think COVID really helped with that. I think before COVID, I would drink so much at gigs as well. Like, and also you only get paid in beer tokens for the first like
half
year
the
or
time,
two.
totally.
Yeah, and then suddenly, and I think with COVID, I started like driving to gigs
Uh-huh.
because I wasn't confident with like PT and stuff
Oh,
like that.
right. Like
And then-
feeling not safe
Yeah,
with the...
feeling
Yeah,
weird
yeah,
about
yeah,
it,
yeah.
and there wasn't like no one would really kick on after. And then I remember like being able to come home after a gig and just being like, I feel great.
Uh-huh.
I can keep doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that you were talking before though about energy levels as well, because when you do a gig, especially if you're having good gigs, if you're having a good season or whatever, the adrenaline after the gig.
Oh man.
Man, that's I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Like if you have an amazing gig, the thing about stand up is it can be quite lonely.
Yes.
Because you do it by yourself and you're on stage and you're in front of all these people and it's this really heightened moment of like, yes. Like I'm the king, and they're like, you are.
Yeah.
and then you walk off, right? And everyone leaves and they're like, well done, congratulations. And you're like, sick. And then you're just there in an empty venue.
There's just vacuum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're just like who, what happens
Where
now?
where
Is
do
there
I
like a
put
party
all
in my
this?
honor somewhere that I go to and everyone fucking, you know?
Where is the king party? I want the king party.
And you just fucking get on the tram and go
come
home.
home.
And you come home to your house and your housemates are there and you're like, I had the best gig. And they're like, cool, I'm going to bed. And you're like, no. Like, but drinking is such a cool way to, I guess, deal with that adrenaline.
Yeah.
Because one positive thing about booze is it takes emotions and like makes them all more manageable.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So you need new ways. So what I've been doing now is just eating heaps of pizza.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's it.
one
That's quite
way.
a turn.
Yeah.
I had the other night after a really big show. My show finished at like 7:30, and I had another gig at 11, and I didn't know what to do. I had so much adrenaline. I just went and slept in my car.
Oh, nice.
But
That
it was
rules.
really nice. I was like, oh, wow, what a great way to process this. It's actually just to be alone and take a moment to just be alone and just be like, that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How strange is it that adrenaline will make you sleepy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it
I
makes
think
you
you're so overstimulated. Like your whole body's like, I don't know how to process that.
Yup.
And my body just shut down. And I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah. I noticed that for years. Like I remember living in London and being so like just running on pure adrenaline for 2 years.
Yeah.
And getting to gigs and just before gigs, I would always be like sleeping on a couch.
Ah, interesting.
And I
Yeah.
never really understood what it was. And then I started going to therapy and my therapist was like noticing like, hey, you notice when you tell these stories that you have a lot of emotion about, you start to yawn.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? I was
Whoa,
like,
what a
oh, no shit.
discovery.
Yeah. And it's like, I guess when I have heightened emotions, my body's reaction is to shut down, which is
Yeah.
why people were always like, oh man, you're so chilled before these shows. You're sleeping on a couch. And I was just like, yeah, I'm cool.
You're like, I'm in
yeah."
extreme stress, actually.
Well, I didn't know. I was like, I guess I am chilled. I guess I'm the coolest guy ever. And now I'm like, no, I was freaking out.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
had no idea how to deal with it.
Yeah.
What do you have, like I just said about pizza, do you have, because you've not drank for a couple of years now, you said.
Yeah, well, I still have like a drink or max two,
Yeah.
and that's it now. And I don't feel like I'm losing anything. I find it very easy to be around people who are drinking
Yeah,
and just nurse the one drink.
that's sick, hey?
It's awesome.
It's like a superpower.
It really is. You know when you like leave the pub and you're like, I can still drive home.
Yeah, totally.
Fuck yeah.
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 Do you have anything else that you've kind of replaced it with maybe? Or like, are there any moments that you go, man, I would love a drink right now, but instead I'm going to do this?
I don't think so. I think the only time that I really feel like I can just go for it is, you know, like those Arvo sessions where you sit down at the pub and everyone just really locks in. And
Yeah.
then suddenly it's midnight.
Oh, the
I
best.
kind of miss those because you just lose time.
Yeah,
and
totally.
You're just all in like this flow and it's really fun. But then I don't know if I'm just hanging out with better people now because I'm like, you're still really interesting and I can still talk to you until midnight.
Yeah, sure.
So it still happens.
Sometimes I need to stop myself from like I feel like as soon as I get one pang of like, I'm like, I'm going to cut it short. But sometimes it's nice to push through that. Like I had a day recently with some friends. It was like a Saturday. Went around there for a barbecue at like 5, 6, something like that. And we ate and we were there. And then at like 9, we'd finished the food and I went to be like, all right, I'm on a bounce. And my mate was like, oh, you going to go? And I was like, I'll stay for 1 more. And then I stayed for like 4 more.
Oh, cool.
And I was there till like 1. And
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm so glad that I didn't leave when I was about to leave, you know?
Yeah.
Because, sometimes but so often there's not more on the other side of
There's
that.
really not. Like, Charlie's rule used to be nothing good happens after 2 a.m.
Yeah.
You know, with that kick on, it's just like, oh, let's just go to one more place.
Yeah.
You don't need to. Just
We
go
don't need
home.
to.
Go home to bed. Bed's great.
Do you have any, what were you like when you were drunk? What do you like as a drunk?
I think I was actually quite rude when I was really, really drunk. But I think, 2 pints, I think was that perfect level of like, you're still quite funny. Well, I thought I was quite funny. I don't know if anyone else would agree. But I think it really took, normally I'm so careful about like what I say and am I offending you and all of that stuff. And it just took all of that away, which I loved.
I can't imagine you being a rude person.
No, I'd just be like, I hate your face. Like it just, then suddenly if it was too much, then I'd get mean and I didn't like that tip over into mean.
Yeah.
And I'd wake up and just be like, oh, should I apologize to some people?
Yeah.
It was just not quite knowing that line and not wanting to. But I don't think I lost friends because of drinking. I did tell a best friend that I didn't like her name one time, which was why would you do that?
That's so funny.
Why? I like woke up in the morning and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
And that's something you really can't
What
take
the
that
fuck
back.
is wrong with
Had
me?
you been thinking that you didn't like her name? Like, was that true?
No, like I don't know why I would say that. Like that's just a horrible thing to say to
That's
someone.
super
It was like, well, I don't like your name.
Were you fighting? What was the situation?
No, she was just being a nice person to me in a club, and I was just like, by the way, I don't like your name. Why? What was that?
Where does that come from? Do you have any idea?
Stupid Rapido things.
I don't like your name. Man, I have a friend of mine who's a really close friend because I think maybe sometimes I try and think too hard about like, I want to know, I'm like, where does that come from? But sometimes you fucking don't want to see what's underneath the stone, you know?
Yeah.
But I have a friend who we dated when we were like 18, 19. So this is like 2009. And we were just a nightmare. We were both like just drunk idiots together. And we broke up like a million times in like 6 months, you know?
That's dating in your 20s, right?
Yeah. And I remember once, I hold this over her because like it was so mean. We were outside a club and we were fighting and we were drunk. And we were like off to the side in like a dark, like out front and then like on the street in a little dark bit. And this girl walked past us and I was in the middle of yelling at her and being like, what the fuck? Like why do you do this? I know you're doing this. And she just started crying, right?
Oh.
And so I'm this man.
Yes, yelling at
this
lady.
girl.
Yeah.
And this lady walked past us and she came up and stood in front of me and went to her and like put her like hands on her shoulders and was like, are you okay?
Oh, that's very sweet.
Yeah. And it didn't feel sweet to me.
No,
because
not
she
for
was
you.
like,
Not for you.
Fuck you fucking man.
Man, yeah.
And I was like, oh God. And so that kind of happened and she looked at me. She gave me this really nasty
Stink
look of
eye.
just like, get the fuck away from her. And, the girl was just like, it's fine, it's okay. So this girl leaves and then my girlfriend kind of composes herself for a second, breaks, looks up at me and just goes, you like that?
Oh, she got you
And
so
she
good.
got me so
She
good.
got you so good.
And
what
she
a
was,
hero.
Oh, she was still so drunk, but she had a moment of lucidity to be like, yeah, you fucking like that.
Oh,
It's
man.
just like,
Also, when you're right in the middle of a fight, winning so comprehensively.
oh, just an absolute,
feels so good.
a complete destruction. I had nothing. I don't remember what happened after that point because like we stayed out. We probably even went home together, but like that for me was the end of the night. I'm just like, I lose.
Yeah. You
And
did
that's why
lose.
I always bring it up to her because there's no way that I'm ever going to get that victory.
Yeah.
So all I can do is I'm like, remember when you were really mean? But like in brackets, it's like, and you fucking beat me.
Beat me good.
Yeah, man.
Do you ever wonder, like, because I've heard that, I don't know how true this is because I don't know that many young people, but apparently the younger generation has not binge drinking anywhere near as much as our generation
Yeah,
did.
really.
And I was wondering about that. Like, I thought because with Sri Lankans, right, like especially dads, like they drink a lot. Like
Really?
spirits they kind of bypass the beers and go straight to
Uh-huh.
spirits. So there's like a huge drinking culture. And you kind of, I think about dad, like he spent like Sundays in just bed with these hangovers.
Wow.
Yeah.
So your dad was a big drinker always.
Massive drinker and always like the life of the party in the middle of dancing and all of that stuff. But now I look back and I'm like, you got toasted like a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
I guess the thing that I'm like learning is like there's no wrong thing to do.
No,
Like
yeah,
if you want to if you want to get drunk and get whatever, there's nothing wrong, but you should always be making a choice.
Yes.
So like if you want to get drunk and I'm going to get so drunk and I'm going to be in bed all day Sunday,
Yeah.
know that going in and make that decision.
Very true.
But it's if you're just having a drink and you're like, I'm going to have a couple, and then without realizing it, you're in bed all day Sunday.
Yeah.
That's when it's like, you didn't choose this, so you're not really living your life right now. It's just being lived for you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a problem, hey?
Especially if you have 2 kids that your wife is looking after
Right.
the entire rest of the day.
Yeah.
Does your
mum, does your mum drink?
No, so she never drank.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she was complete opposite. So I think it was really hard for her seeing me go off the rails at like 20, like because she was like, I do not like this behavior. So we used to clash a lot.
Right.
But yeah, she's never drunk. And I think now I look back, I'm like, you must be really healthy. That's
Wow.
nice. Your liver must look real good.
Yeah, how do you feel about that now that you used to clash back then? Are you guys all good now?
Yeah, well, we're getting there. I
Okay.
think everyone's relationship with their parents is so weird.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Me and my mum, it actually sounds so familiar. I'm exactly the same. My dad is a big drinker.
Yeah.
My mum does, but like not really. She never really gets out of control.
Yeah.
And when I was young, I got really fucked up a bunch. Like I was away for days at a time, would come home, eat food, be hungover, and then leave again.
Yeah.
And me and mum always used to clash. She like picked me up from a police station a couple times, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But now I look back and I'm like, how strong of her to let me do that.
Yeah.
And not crack the whip, or because if you tell your kid you can't do this, it's probably not going to work.
do it more.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. Like, it's really nice what you said about just making your own choices. Like, just make sure that you're making your own choices, whatever it is. If it's like drink heaps of alcohol, don't drink alcohol, whatever it is. As long as you're making a conscious choice, that's all you need to do.
Totally,
Yeah,
dog.
I like that.
Now, what do you think of this beer?
It's going down really well.
Yeah, you're into it.
I'm into it. I still can't get over this graphic.
It's a really cool
good.
graphic. I think I'm
Yeah.
turned around on this, man. I went into this
What
going.
was your first experience with this?
I can't remember what it was, but I think it was the only available option at whatever bar, and maybe I resented that, and I
Yeah,
had
you
it, and I
wanted
was
more
just like,
choice.
yeah, or I don't know. I just decided that I didn't like it, and that stuck with me. And now that I'm drinking it, it's really nice. It's kind of light. It's a bit
light.
sweet.
It
It's
is
like,
a little bit sweet, so it's not as beery.
but I
would
kind of
say.
like that.
Yes, me
It's
too.
not bad. And this can is so cool. And what does it say on the side? I like reading this. Melbourne-based brewing company specialising in the production of small batch beers. This beer is for those days when you need a refreshing, hoppy hit without the headache. Generously dry hopped with Simcoe, Vic Secret, and Galaxy to create a refreshing hint of citrus and tropical fruit. Cheers, Sam and Dunk.
They sound like legends.
They do sound like legends.
Anyone that drops the AN on the end of a name, Dunk.
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 Yeah, he's dunking on you.
Yeah.
I reckon out of 5 flavour.
I've actually had so many different non-alcoholic beers. I would give that a 4 out of 5. I really
Nice,
like
dog.
it.
Yeah, I'm into it too. I'm going to say 4 out of 5 as well. Cool can. Cool, like at a party, you would be happy to drink this, I reckon.
Yep.
I rate coolness by like, if you're at a party and someone comes up to you and they're like, what are you drinking?
Yeah.
Would you be like, this? Or would you be
This.
like, ugh, this?
Imagine the conversation starter with the picture
With the
alone.
fucking, the
Yeah.
Maggies, man.
Yeah.
That's sick. Well, look, do you have anything you want to plug?
No. I mean, by the time this comes out, unlikely. But come follow my Instagram. That's always really
dude.
fun.
Yeah, it'll be.
at Sash Bomb.
I reckon this will be out. Is it Sash Bomb? Sashi Bomb?
Yeah, SASH Bomb.
bomb.
Yeah.
This will probably be out in like June. When are your shows in London?
Cool. Yeah, shows in London are in June actually.
Sick, man.
13th and 16th of June.
You know what? I'll try and put this out before then.
Yeah,
that'd be
that'd be
sick, dude. Why
fun.
not?
Yeah.
And for me, aidanjonescomedy.com. Find all my tour dates. I'll be in Europe. Yeah, in like the summer.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
doing
leaving
the
the
Edinburgh Fringe.
hemisphere.
I'm leaving the hemisphere, man. I'm
Boom.
gonna miss it. And what else? Listen to my other podcast, Sitting Under a Tree. Watch my special on YouTube. Do all that stuff. And if you've liked this episode, please give us 5 stars on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. Show it to some friends. Do whatever. And I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you very much for coming, Sashi.
Thanks for having me. Very fun.
I've been Aidan Jones, and I'm still not drunk.